Alright, hello and welcome to the Devstream 90 breakdown. So, let's just get into this because there's a hell of a lot to talk about. First things first, we got the Easter stuff. So get your color picker if you don't have it. I think it's just like an okay color picker. Colors are like too light for most things in my opinion, but it's whatever. Grab it anyway, it's only one credit in the market. Otherwise, there are bunny ears, so those will go away after the Easter time is over, but use them while you can. Other than that, we got a look at a new Machete Stamps, finally. There's only been one up until this one comes out. Hopefully this has some incredible multipliers. Like, for it to make machetes good, it needs to have Cleaving Whirlwind-esque multipliers on it. So, maybe we'll see a sudden resurgence of machetes, but I somehow doubt that. Either way, it seems like it has cool animations, which is a lot better than the one we have now. So, looking forward to it kind of either way. It'll bring back some testing for machetes, which is, you know. Otherwise, there are some just kind of overall melee changes that they talked about, and there's some really fucking cool shit in there. First of all, they were talking about using the reload key for like designated heavy attacks in melee, which would be really cool if that's like going to be how you would use your charge attacks, and then basically, the thing that would add is being able to use E and R instead of just E gives you a way deeper level of complexity that you can put into combos, which is really, really awesome. And I hope that ends up being the case. If that doesn't end up being the case, the other things they talked about is also really cool. Namely, the pistol plus melee dual wield. So they showed this and they had it mostly working. It was buggy near the end of the stream. This was really cool, and as someone who just went back and played Dark Sector, as a lot of you saw from the stream archive, they're literally adding that into Warframe, like, pretty much just straight up. Being able to use a single pistol and a glaive, it has the entire, like, timed charge throw mechanic, all of that stuff from Dark Sector. It looked like they were putting the whole thing in there. The hope with this is that, A, it will give you a better reason to have a single pistol, because a lot of the time the AC version is just going to be strictly better. But along with that, if they can make it so that this is like the big thing that glaives do, and glaives are really powerful when used this way because of the timed charge on your throw, that can make it so that there is a much larger reason to have one pistol and a glaive, or one pistol and a longsword, as it were, if there's like a good, like, splitting the difference of power, because like you're obviously reducing how strong your secondary is generally going to be by only having one of them. But if the glaive can make up for that, that's really awesome. I'm really hopeful for that, and like, as I said, I just played through Dark Sector recently. The glaive mechanics in that game are really, really good and feel great. So if they can get that feeling just into a thing you can just equip in Warframe, I'm very excited for that. Also, it appeared that with that, there were going to be slow-mo air throws. Like, whenever they jumped up with just the longsword, it looked like it was slow-mo, and it tried to do the reticle for throwing the glaive. So, maybe like an extra slowed-down glide for throwing a glaive in midair. That could be really cool. That is probably the most exciting thing I saw in the entire dev stream, just because, like, new, interesting gameplay stuff is always my favorite. Besides that, they talked about replacing 4K Endo in sorties with 4K Kuba. Personally, and this might be surprising because of what I think of Ribbons, I could kind of go either way on this. I think both ways are kind of fine, and I lean towards what Sheldon was kind of insinuating, that not having just kind of everything dumped into sorties, and instead maybe instead of 4K Endo, having another unique reward that is unique to sorties and not necessarily just Kuba. I would definitely lean that way, because I think Kuba farming is fun, personally. Like, I think it's a good time. It's set up well. I just don't like the end point of the Kuba farming, unfortunately. Speaking of that, melee ribbons. Melee ribbons are coming soon. Here's the big problem with that. It's the problem that I have with all of the ribbons. They just make strong weapons stronger, and melee is the strongest thing in the game by a country mile. Like, it's not really arguable that melee far outclasses primaries and secondaries, and with melee ribbons, that, like, huge, the canyon of difference is going to get even larger when this gets introduced. So, get ready for that. And for those of you that for some reason want to spend thousands of platinum, fucking get ready, because you're going to spend it on Galatine Prime ribbons and shit, and it's not going to make the terrible melee weapons any better. Spoiler alert. But yeah. That'll be what it is, I guess. Besides that, a little bit of talk about the Oberon rework. Scott wasn't really wanting to talk about it too much, which is about right. It's on early stages. But he said that the powers are not changing, the passive is changing, and they're mostly focusing on adding scaling to his abilities and synergy, which could work out fine. I personally would like to see different abilities from Oberon, but if it works, it works. Whether or not it's a thing that I would prefer or not doesn't really matter to me, as long as it makes Oberon good. That's what I'm personally looking for. Along with making things good, Limbo is getting a little bit more of a change, because his Cataclysm went out, and they hadn't thought that all the way through, probably, so that is going to no longer be able to nuke the entire map for instant kill damage whenever that changes, so enjoy it while you can. Personally, that's not going to really change Limbo for me. That is already a task that can be done by Equinox pretty easily. And Limbo was just a different way to do it, and it was very visually annoying, which is what everyone was complaining about. He'll still be really good. I think Limbo will still be in a good place. And at the very worst, and I don't think this will be the case, it'll change him from being an A+ Warframe to an A, which is a small difference. So Limbo will still be in a good place. Thing I'm very excited about is this Nyx change. So the Nyx change, very, very important. They're going to be changing Nyx's Assimilate augment again. Hopefully they're just reverting it, or changing how it works in its entirety to be a bit more similar to, say, the way Neja's new augment works. That would be awesome. Or just maybe changing her 4 as a whole to not be, griefable from teammates. I'm very excited to see that they responded to the community's outcry that why would you nerf Nyx like this, because it was bad for her. You didn't want to take Nyx into a squad because you could just get looked at by a teammate, and people were going out of their way to be like, fuck that Nyx, I'm going to take all of her energy to no benefit for the team, because that's just how people are. So I'm glad that that's changing. Well, man, I was feeling real bad for people who like Nyx. It was no good. Moving on, though, we finally have another support Warframe. The new Priest Warframe. I think he looks really, really cool. His design is really interesting, and he's got kind of this weird incense flail type of deal going on. And I hopefully, whenever he would come out, maybe he will be able to have his flail and a pistol at the same time. They said he's going to be a support that is also focused on high accuracy, so I don't exactly know how that's going to pan out. But it seems really interesting to me. And also they mentioned being able to self-sacrifice for your team, which I don't know what that exactly entails, but hopefully it's good. If you can self-sacrifice and take damage to give buffs, and especially if you're taking a lot of damage to give buffs and things like that, or to give vast amounts of energy, that could be really interesting. And as long as it's really powerful for what you're sacrificing, I think that he could definitely compete with Trinity if that's the case. Say, for example, if he can sacrifice half his health to give another Warframe a bonus 300 energy and increase their cap on energy that they can hold, period, so they can always get that 300 bonus or something. That might be useful. And that's just rough ideas. There's some cool things that could happen with this. I'm very excited to see another support, because we kind of really only have one right now, which is Trinity. And maybe with Oberon's rework that will change, then we'll have 3 supports. That'll be new. So yeah, that'll be really awesome. Very excited for that. There's also an in-game render of him that looks like this. I think his visual design is cool. I like him quite a bit. And he's going to be coming from a Red Veil quest, which they said is going to be kind of the reverse tone of Octavia's whole thing, where Octavia is a super fun dancey frame, and she had a very good quest. They said they were gonna go this is a darker kind of character, which is reasonable, especially, I mean, when you're dealing with this mega edgelords Red Veil's deacons. What do you expect? What are you gonna get? You're gonna get edgelords. It's gonna be dark. That's what's gonna happen. And, that's not bad. It's just that's just what it is. Moving on, we have a new enemy class, which is the Corpus Spider Tanks. These are fucking cool. They showed 4 designs of them, and I think they're all Corpus. They look really rad. They vary in size. This is the smallest one, and it's a little rushdown melee unit, as you can see from the blades on its legs. it looks really rad. The big thing that I'm worried about with this type of enemy, though, is if they have a ton of armor. Armor already needs to be looked at. Let's just be real about this. Armor needs to be looked at because in high levels, like high levels, obviously, kind of outside the range of what we are normally going to be dealing with. But still, it's an issue. If these are all armored units and they become much more frequent, that means that corrosive projection is basically required everywhere. They really need to take a look at armor, because as it stands right now, if you're doing Corpus Endless, you still take corrosive projection to take, like, Oxium Ospreys down a notch, because they have more health than, like, 30 or 40 other units around them just because they have armor that scales. So, I hope that stuff gets looked at before an enemy like this is added, and who knows, maybe these just have shields, maybe they have weak points, something like that. Just my worry is that they're just going to be big armor monsters that are also now going to be in Corpus, and everything in the game is going to be about fighting armor, which I feel like would just not be good for variety's sake. But yeah, along with that, speaking of variety's sake, and the class, or not the class, the enemy faction that has armor normally, we got a look at a new Grineer. So, here's the thing with this. If this is like a weird thing, this like weird beanbagman, it's weird, and Jeff kind of gave it away, he said diapause, and that is basically that's like the cocooning process for like a caterpillar into a butterfly. So what I'm thinking is that these are like cocoon manics, and that I don't know, it'll be odd. It's cool. It's like really, really weird. But I'm pretty interested in it. It's strange enough that, like, it fits with the fucking super weirdo shit of the Grineer really well. And, like, maybe it's like a Kuva Manic or something that's, like, really fucking extra gross. I'm kind of okay with it. It seems like a rad idea. Just because, I don't know, it just seems really, really neat. Besides that, though, we have the rebuilding of the relays, which Sheldon said is coming at the end of May, so we'll finally have more relays built. That'll be cool. That'll be really fun. And then, lastly, we have the Ambulance rework, which the Ambulance rework has been coming for a while. This is what it looks like. They showed off some gameplay of it, which was actually really cool. I think it's going to be one of the better boss fights in the game whenever it comes out. He has a lot of moves, even in the stage that he was right now. Fighting multiple Ambulos, having unique mechanics, not having any invincibility stages is, like, kind of unique at this point. He seems really rad, and, like, the basic thing about it is that he's like a Bursa, and you need to hack him, and then send the hacked Ambulos up to a carrier, which goes back to, like, a bigger ship. That stuff is really rad, and it's going to be introduced with a clan event for launch. The last clan event I felt like went really well. It was competitive and pretty fun. And speculation says that we're going to be getting the Super Vandal, probably as Dojo Research again. So you guys can expect that I will be going very hard in that event, because it looks like a hell of a lot of fun if it's just like Ambulos based. Like, that boss fight looked like it was going to be a really good time. So I'm excited to see that. Also, worth noting, the keep away with Corpus part of that is that once you have downed an Ambulos and hacked it, you have to keep the Corpus away from it so that they cannot hack it and turn it back on. Yeah, also it's time limited, so you have a set amount of time to take down these Ambulos and, like, protect them. That stuff is really awesome. I'm very excited for that, actually. The Ambulance rework actually turned out much better than I was expecting, based on what we've seen so far anyway. It could change for release, but I'm very hopeful for that. Otherwise, Zephyr, the deluxe skin, is still in progress, just as a little update. And also, while the devs were just looking at comments coming in and answering them, Scott said that he knows that Zephyr does need to be looked at, so we can look forward to a rework for her in the future. Maybe post-Oberon, maybe post-Hydroid? For me, my initial thing that I would think would be Oberon and then Hydroid reworks, and then Zephyr after that, potentially. But yeah, that could just be me. That would be my preferred order of events, but and also, the Earth Remaster is this month, so look forward to that. As we showed last Devstream breakdown, which was, I know, quite a while ago, that has been coming along very, very nicely, and that will make that tile set just a lot more enjoyable to play through. So yeah, a nice jam-packed Devstream. really, really good stuff overall. Yeah, I'm very excited for this priest. Like, just, I don't know. Like, it's not really my thing to play as a support character in general, although I do really like Trinity. Like, in most outside games that are non-Warframe, I don't much care for support, but this guy, he seems kind of cool. I like him. It's mostly that, like, dope flail that he has. Like, I just like flails. Let's be real here. Flails are fucking sick. But yeah, I'm pretty interested in it. He could be really interesting. And with the quality of the Octavia quest, there's a huge amount of potential for him to have an amazing quest. Just structuring it like the same way Octavia was structured and like having like good surprising things in it, just like Octavia's, is kind of all I want. Like just more of that. It's also nice that we're getting off like earlier in the year, getting a lot more Warframes like out this year compared to last year, where it was kind of a drought of new guys to play as. So yeah, it'll be a really good time. Otherwise, later today, once this video goes up, probably I'm gonna start streaming, and yeah, we're probably gonna mess around with some of the new augments and things. I know I'm gonna form a Naros and maybe do Jorda's Verdict. So come hang out for that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.